The first discussion is for reality of on the tools. And basically you can see there's different people that are here because the reality of on the tools that some of the speakers that were expected to be here are not here because they've got businesses to run, priorities have come up, so they've not been able to join. And that's the reality with constructions. There are things that come up that you then can't able to join events like this. So we've got apologies from both Katie and Danny for not being here, but we've got some great speakers that are here joining me this morning. So first of all, I'd like to introduce you to the panel, and I'll come first to Stephen. Stephen, if you can introduce yourself.
Yeah, thanks, Carol. My name is Steve Slessor. I am the Managing Director of Galliford Try's environment business. And despite my good looks and youthful charm, I actually started my career many years ago on the tools, so to speak.
Thanks, Stephen. And over to Caroline.
Thanks. My name is Caroline Meehan, and I'm the Northern Director at Federation of Master Builders. So I look after about 1,500 small and medium-sized construction businesses in the North.
And Suzanne.
Hi, I'm Susanna. I'm an electrician from North Wales and proud to be a winner of one of the Women in Construction Awards.
Congratulations. Congrats. So Caroline, can I ask you to give us a little bit more background in terms of what you do?
Yeah, sure. So Federation of Master Builders is a membership organisation where we offer a 14-point check to come into membership. Given that the construction industry is not licensed, we pride ourselves at upholding standards. So to come into membership, we ask that new companies provide us with all their director names. We do a full financial check on them, check that they have all their records up to date. We also do an online site inspection of their work. So if they say that they're a house builder, we want to see a new house. And once we've seen that and they pass inspection, then they come into membership. So if you are looking for reliable, trusted tradespeople, it's a great place to start.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And Stephen, just a little bit of background regarding what you do at Galliford Try.
Yeah, so I'm the Managing Director of the environment business, which works mainly underground with pipes and sewage and water. Hardly the most exciting, but it covers all of the UK. It's about £500 million a year business. And we're growing really fast. There's a lot of work to do. Every time you pick up a newspaper just now, you'll see the challenges of river water quality, and we're doing our part to help address that. We also have 4 or 5 manufacturing businesses that make products for the water sector. So it's a really good job for me. I love it. I've been with Galliford Try for 17 years now, and I started my career with them as a quantity surveyor back then, and I've just worked my way through the business. But my early career was spent in roles outside of construction, and I didn't get my first job in construction until I was about 22, and I started off literally digging holes with a shovel. And after about 2 years, I was in a trench in Barrow Furness, about 8 metres deep. And I looked round and I thought, it's chucking it down. There's crap everywhere. I don't know if I want to do this for the rest of my life. And I looked round the site and thought, who's got the easiest life? And I saw the quantity survey and I thought, that'll do for me.
And that's really good. I will say that Stephen has travelled all the way this morning from Glasgow to be here, so we really appreciate you attending as well. Susanna, how about yourself? How did you and why did you get into what you're doing?
So I've always been fascinated by electricity, and my dad's an electrician. So I started by going out working with him in the summer holidays. I decided to go off and do a bit of theatre stuff, performing, being a bit of a drama queen, and then got into doing the sound and lighting side of it and really, really enjoyed it. And when I looked at jobs, I needed an electrical qualification. So I thought, do you know what? Why don't I go and get a backup plan? And I'm now working with my dad.
Excellent, excellent. You're a true example of a woman in construction. So we've got a few questions that I want to pose to the panellists this morning. So we hear mixed reviews about working on UK construction site. People reporting that it's the best industry to be in, and others saying that they had to leave their careers due to a multitude of issues that appear in construction. So what's your experience of working on site or alongside who do? Stephen?
When I look back on my career, I can honestly say that it's been the best of times and the worst of times. I think like lots of careers and jobs, working in construction can be quite mixed. There's lots of opportunity. I mean, that's the one thing that I will always say, that there's been lots of opportunity, but there's also a lot of challenges as well. It doesn't help as well as the construction can be quite transient at times. The lack of job security, the lack of sustainability can be quite difficult. That said, if you want to work as part of a team and you want to be get that camaraderie of working out and about, I don't think you'll find much better. And so for me, sometimes it's a bit horses for courses. And I've always been a big believer in that there's no wrong path, and people find, their own way in life at different times. So I didn't start quantity surveying until I was 30. I know you may find that hard to believe looking at me now, Carol.
Yeah, definitely.
But it's been a long, torturous journey at times. And so I think it's difficult to say, put your finger on one single thing that you would change. There's just so many things. I think culturally, over the last 3 years, the industry's made leaps because it has to. It's been forced down that direction. There's too much work and not enough people to do the work. So they've had to change. And I know our business has changed significantly in that period of time.
No, absolutely. And I pose the same question to yourself, Caroline.
Yeah, I spend a lot of time on building sites. A big part of my role is going around the north and visiting members' jobs. Personally, I've never had a bad experience, but I'm not working for those small builders. I'm a guest on site. I do notice that there's often not a separate toilet for women. It's not something that is needed, but there needs to be a leap to provide that, I think, so that maybe females visiting site feel comfortable to use their own toilet. Yeah. Little things like that. But I just want to echo what Steve said. I've had fantastic experiences on site. Very positive, knowledgeable people that really take great pride in their work. Yeah. I think where challenges can come about is the cultural shift, which I've seen make great leaps. Like Steve, in the 5.5 years that I've been in the industry, it's changed quite dramatically. But we need to be doing a lot more.
Okay. And Suzanna, you're a real life person that is on the tools. How's it been for yourself?
I've had a mixed experience. I've had the good side of it. I've had people saying, oh, it's great to see a woman on the tools. It's great to have a lady doing my electrics and all this. But then I've had the other side, and I've had, oh, girls shouldn't be doing that. Oh, it's not a job for a woman, is it? And I've had the massive support from my dad, and he's always backed me up. And I've always gone back to them and said, look, I can do whatever I want, no matter what anybody says, because it's what I want to do. I've had the same issue with the toilets. I was on one site where there was one toilet for 100 contractors and me. So it's a difficult situation, but you just get over it. I just ignore all the negative comments now. I just get on with it and prove to women that we can do it no matter what the men say. Sorry, men.
Fair play. Well said. Well said, Susanna. Okay, this day is about championing diversity within construction, and most of us know that their representation in construction is very much limited. So as we know, there's maybe 14 to 15% women represented. There's people of diverse cultures that are not represented as well. And it's a very tough environment to join. But do you think there is still discrimination taking place on site? And if so, what type of discrimination? I'll come to you again, Susanna, on this one.
There is some discrimination going on site. People not liking having a woman on site from my experiences. And I just think people just need to accept that it's a changing world and everybody's different. Everybody from every background is coming into this industry now, and we just need to welcome them rather than pushing them away.
100%. And yourself, Caroline?
Yeah, I think that if the construction industry doesn't embrace equality and diversity, it will fail. Why would you only look to hire 50% of the population? You're never going to fill your skills gap that way. I'm also a governor at Leeds College of Building. I have been for over 4 years now, and we are seeing a lot of really fantastic females coming through onto courses now. We've got outstanding plasterers, bricklayers who are females, and they're turning up with the attitude of hunger. They want this, and it's really highlighting where maybe the males are falling down as a default career option, where for the women and girls now, it's their number one choice that they're striving for, and they are producing fantastic work. If you choose to stay in the situation of we don't want an equal, diverse workforce, then I would think that your business would fail, ultimately. I think it's that serious.
100% agree. And I always say that diversity does grow business. It doesn't matter if it's construction, all businesses will thrive on diversity. So, Stephen, from your perspective?
I'll be really candid with you, Carol. Actually, I think there's a real significant challenge and problem in the industry. And I think everyone has a part to play in that. I think certainly from my perspective as a leader in a business that employs 1,700 people, it starts at the top. Like a lot of things, any good culture starts at the very top. So I've got to hold myself accountable and put things in place. And yeah, we can do policy, we can do procedure, but the reality is, it's not me who's deploying this. It's middle management, contracts managers, site managers. And so, we've embarked, for example, on a real program of education. I think the other thing is we need to create a much more welcoming workplace that represents the diverse nature of the society and economy that we have now. So, for example, we really actively encourage part-time working, flexible working, hybrid working where we can to make those choices. I think the other thing is that we need to make sure that we create the right spaces as well to be inclusive. And just remember, by the way, it's not all just around ethnicity or gender, but actually it's neurodiversity as well. Yeah. There's a lot of excellent first-class people out there that perhaps don't have the chances that others will have. So I think it's incumbent on all of us to step up and just really get a hold of this from the top and all the way down.
So in terms of your business, Galliford Try is a very big organisation. So what steps are you doing? As an organisation, what steps are you doing to improve that?
So we've got several steps, really. I mean, some of them are quite easy sort of things. Just for example, a women's network. Up until recently, we've never had a women's network, despite having, roughly about 17% of our workforce as being women. I think the other thing we're trying actively to do is to find mentors and make sure we have the right people in the right leadership positions to promote that. I am absolutely not an advocate of positive discrimination at all. Everybody should be in the place they're in on their own merits. And so we put in active ways of making sure that people have the right training and access to opportunities. I think the other thing is, one of the things I did many years ago in Scotland when I was running that regional business was in all the women's toilets, I made sure every site had a women's toilet, regardless whether there was a woman there or not. And then every single women's toilet had access to a range of free women's hygiene products. So, and again, that's more a statement of intent. It's never going to change the world. But I'm a father of 3 daughters, Carol. If I can't change it for them, then who can I change it for?
Exactly. Thank you. Caroline.
Yeah, it's a real challenge for a sole trader or a small construction company to implement such things as Steve has mentioned. But really what needs to take place is just an acceptance that, that they are only recruiting in 50% of the population. And what I hear every day is I just can't get the men. Try women. You know, we're out there, and it just takes that shift. But to be able for a woman to go onto a small site with maybe a team of 3 or 4 people, and there does need to be a cultural shift. There needs to be an understanding that they're in a very male-dominated environment. Language, you know, may need to be regulated. There may need to be considerations around flexible working for childcare, which often does fall to women. And women just, at the moment, women and girls, they just can't see that. They can't see that happening. And I think that there's a real want from small builders to open their workforce up to females, but there's a bit of uncertainty of how do I do this?
And yourself, Susanna?
Well, what me and my dad do, we always try and make sure everybody is included, even if they're not working for us, if they're working for a different contractor, we always make sure they're included in what we're doing. We've got a young lad coming to do work experience with us in July, and we had a questionnaire to fill out. One of the questions was, do you have an inclusion and diversity policy? And the answer that my mother, who also helps us out, put was, I think our female electrician can answer that.
Exactly. And that leads to another point in terms of how do businesses, you know, like tier 1 contractors, for example, do more to attract more into the sector? Over to you, Stephen.
Do you know something, Carol? I'll take anybody just now. I've got more work than I can shake a stick at, and I will take anybody. If somebody wants to learn, somebody wants to work and learn a trade or learn a qualification or profession, they will be welcome with open arms in my business just now. And so I think, and a lot of tier 1 contractors will be in exactly the same place. So, for example, if I looked at our graduate intakes, it's roughly 50-50 in terms of gender split. If I look at what we're doing with the apprentices, it's roughly 70-30 in terms of guys versus girls. But one of the interesting trends that is emerging is that certainly in the work I do, there's a huge focus on reducing carbon and the race to net zero.
Yeah.
And that's actually generating new and different types of roles and jobs. So I've created 2 new roles in a bid to try and attract a different, diverse mix of people. The first one is a low carbon operation, and that is somebody who goes out on site and focuses on using new low carbon tools, equipment, materials to deliver projects. Nature-based solutions, for example. The other one is, which is we're getting a lot of interest in, is digital construction operatives. And that is really, if I was being really honest, a little bit of spin, because we've been doing a lot of those things already, but we are more and more a digitally enabled workforce and more digitally enabled society. But actually, and one of the benefits of that is, one of the perceptions constructions, I know it's dirty, it's mucky, it's filthy, why do I want to do that? My youngest daughter, who's very candid, says, well, what about my new acrylics I've just had done last week, Dad? That's not going to happen. But you've actually got a wide range of people there that we're not doing that anymore. Actually, we're using artificial intelligence to think about how we build something. We're using machine learning to think about the structure and nature and the composition of materials. So all in time and time, the work's changing. And so as tier 1 contractors, most of our diversity improvements are going to come from a natural change in the way we do business.
All good points. And, you know, I've been in the sector for over 35 years, and I remember back when the careers discussion took place, and, you know, there were individuals within, you know, my school team that were, you know, kind of boisterous. And the thing that was said, if you don't get GCSEs, if you don't get O levels, don't worry, you'll get a job in construction. And it was always perceived as one of the sectors that will just pick up anyone. Which, do you still think that there is still that stigma around construction that is not helping the younger generation in terms of looking for careers?
Do you know one of the biggest barriers is parents? And a lot of parents are very influential on the children's, you know, career choices. And certainly people of my generation wouldn't naturally see construction as being a good career. It'd be almost, oh, well, if you can't do anything else, you can always go and lay bricks or dig holes. So I would say that's endemic. And I think that will change over time as people realise that. I go to careers fairs and we bring virtual reality technology to let people see actually it's not about that anymore. You can have a go driving a machine or an excavator. You can do it in real time. It's exciting stuff. There's lots to do.
Yeah.
We've got people that go out and don't have a chain buoy anymore. We have actually people that go out and do measurement and use professional equipment to do that. They're all trained to do that. And so there's a real career choice available to people. They just don't know it.
And the money's good, right?
I'm not complaining.
Yeah, exactly. And Susanna?
I'm going to pick up on Stephen's point there. I had parents that would encourage me and push me to do what I wanted because I was one of those kids. I'm dyslexic, so I struggled all the way through school, was told when I was 7 that I wouldn't go to university and I would just about get a job bagpacking in Tesco. So putting that 7-year-old, who's not much taller now, down and making her feel like she was going to get nowhere in life to being a double award-winning electrician, I will work with anyone to get to where they want. I am now got social media pages where I'm promoting females in construction. I am telling them, come on, you can do it, no matter what. Even helping the lads that might be struggling because they've got dyslexia or have another learning difference, making sure they know they can do it no matter what anybody tells you.
Well said. Well said. Caroline?
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree there. And I also support my children to go into trades. I appreciate what you're saying, but I do think there is a shift now, especially for those that work in the industry, that we would wholeheartedly support our children going into trades or the construction industry. But it does start way back in school, and it's historic, where girls haven't had access to science, maths, all the STEM subjects, engineering, because girls can't do that. We need to change that narrative, but I do wonder how much that narrative feeds into what, society wants us to go off and do certain things. So it needs to change in schools, and we have a challenge accessing schools to speak about careers in construction. I think it's the same for civils as well. Yeah.
I agree, yes.
Yeah, it is a challenge. I think the narrative at school is go through school, get yourself into university and a large lump of debt after a few years and then off you go. But, going into apprenticeship age 15 or 16 is a viable career for females and males. And feeding into the neurodiverse conversation, I work with men and women who have come out of school with very little, who now run very successful construction businesses. We need to appreciate that there is diagnosed and undiagnosed a large amount of neurodiversity in the construction industry. Therefore, the information that we're sharing about it needs to be in the correct format and landing in the right ways. We need positive role models to be able to speak to kids, speak to girls and boys about their journeys, which is part of the work that I do with the colleges in the north. We take some of our member companies around, and we can only do it at college level, but they answer anything that kids might want to know about starting a construction business. The work that is out there and will be out there, for years to come is vast. There is billions of construction work that is not done because people don't trust tradies. They don't want to get tradies in, and there's just not the numbers there to do the work. So you think about the government's housing policy, 320,000 new homes. Who's building them? Somebody's got to build them. There's just such fantastic careers out there for males and females, but it has to start in school.
And we all know that technology plays a real main role in construction, and historically construction's been known as one of those sectors that's been quite slow to adapt. So, Stephen, from your perspective, we are trying to attract more individuals, youngsters into construction. How do you feel, or what is actually Galliford Try doing in terms of technology to help attract the younger generation that are constantly on their phone? They're on TikTok, they're on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, in some instances?
Do you know something? It's a good question, Carol. And there's no one single answer, because one of the things that I'm sure people will find is that technology touches everybody's lives all the time now. For example, I've been playing around with ChatGPT recently just to see what the power of that is, and it's pretty frightening, to be honest. And so with all technology, you've got to be mindful about the risks of what it is you're doing and what it employs. But for example, we've been using a tool called Intuity, and what that is, it's a digital risk assessment. And you get your phone, you go into your place of work, you scan the phone, and it records, and it automatically looks for hazards, produces a sort of a risk assessment based on what it sees, which you use as a basis, and then it collects various information around things like that. We have just got to the final of the CN Awards with a digital safety tool called Vinny, which looks at photographs of safety observations and then can predict where you'll have an accident or an incident on a site. I'll give you a weekly ranking of how to protect people. We use laser scanning on drones now. So every time we go and build a new product, we'll use laser scanning on existing assets to understand what they look like. I'm in the process of building digital twins to see how we can operate buildings and infrastructure in the cloud or in the metaverse for some people, and what that means. And actually, you can save a lot of time, energy, and money, be more efficient doing it that way. We already have done for many years digital project rehearsals. So we actually go with the site delivery teams and rehearse digitally using a tool we've got. And so there's literally everything that we do has got some sort of technological or digital angle compared to even 3 or 4 years ago. And what that does is it just makes us a little bit more efficient. It also makes us attractive. It makes us an easy place for people to come and say, actually, you know what I thought you were. And yes, you still need to go and dig holes. You still need to go and lay bricks.
Yeah.
But in time, the robots will take over, if you believe everybody. I'll be long gone by the time that comes.
You and me both. And yourself, Caroline?
It's harder for a small builder to do these things, but what we ask our member companies to do is look at your recruitment paths. Are they attractive to females? Is flexible working mentioned in your recruitment drives? Women historically tend to only apply for jobs that they kind of 100% fit the bill for, whereas men are sort of 50%. I think I fit, so I'll give it a go. So it's about understanding, if you're trying to attract females, what we're actually looking for in a job. Make a safe environment on site, support them with correct PPE. There are so many variations on tools now. Look at the weight of tools. Just make your site a comfortable place and a safe place for females to operate.
No, absolutely. And Susanna, what do you think?
Well, with what I do is I use my social media to show females what workwear is out there, which is comfortable, what tools I find are good for me because I've got small hands. But also I'm showing everybody what technology is coming out. So like we've got a lot of smart home stuff coming out where you can switch your lights on with the Alexas, or you've got sockets which you could turn off from your phone. So I'm always showing what's new and what's going on in the industry and trying to just encourage more youngsters. There is quite fun things to do, but you got to work hard first, sort of thing.
Absolutely. So maybe final question. We've noticed a huge push from the Tier 1 contractors over recent years to be more inclusive, and they're trying to implement new strategies. Now, we've found a reverse mentoring scheme successful in changing this and allowing people on site to have their voices heard. Do you think the decision makers within the organisation sitting at the board level understand the reality of actually working on the tool?
Yes, because I have done it. And I think, now that's not to say that that's the same for everybody, but most people I know that are in leadership positions in Galliford Try have a significant understanding of what it's like out there, and they're doing and striving constantly to be better. To pick up your point on reverse mentoring, I actually think that's something that is worth exploring further. It's something that we are in Galliford Try starting to do. Actually, we've not done it so much in terms of either gender or ethnicity, but early careers. So trying to embed some of different ways of thinking from our early careers people. Now, reverse mentoring is not a panacea. It's not going to solve everything. And the point in your question about the middle management, I think I alluded to that earlier.
Yeah.
That's going to take a real cultural shift. That takes real leadership and enforcement. And the only way you can do that is by measuring that success and making it a key priority. So unless I change or our business change, nothing will change. And, we are making those positive changes as we set out today.
Okay, thank you. Caroline?
I think that, again, it's different for our members in a sense that they are small building companies, but they, of course, have on the site, on the tools experience, which then if they come off the tools, which many don't, they find they do for a bit, but they're so used to working on the tools that they actually prefer that. We find a lot of small businesses struggle with business development, that not being a skill that they may have acquired on their sort of tradesman journey. So they're incredibly good, strong builders, but how to grow their business can be a challenge for them. And that can be an area that looks into workforce. So it's really getting out some information and education piece on how they can do that and how they can incorporate females into their workplace at all levels.
All levels,
Yep.
okay. And Susanna?
With me and my dad, we both work together on making sure that if we do have someone who wants to come work for us, they can come work for us no matter what gender they are, what ethnicity they are. We make sure that everybody is welcome within our business.
Perfect. And if I ask the question, we're talking about the reality on the tools, where would you say the biggest gaps are in terms of specific trades at the moment? Where are the risk areas from a Galliford Try? If you were out there looking, if you were looking at your recruitment, your order book, where would you say your biggest gap as a contractor would be?
So we have roughly 30,000 people every year coming onto our sites to undertake work. I would say it's very difficult to answer your question just now, Carol, because I would say everywhere. So if I looked at whether it's in building trades or civil engineering trades, there's a significant shortfall everywhere. And to be honest, we're consulting with the UK government at the moment through the Construction Leadership Council around migration to be able to try and bridge some of those skills. And that will help. But equally, we just talked about there, huge 320,000 homes. You've got HS2, you've got nuclear power, you've got the massive investments in the water and highways sectors. So we actually need to start investing now in our young people, creating that environment to help them succeed and really embedding these... We've got a real opportunity actually to embed these cultural changes we talk about now, because we'll get the benefit of that in 5 or 10 years.
And would you, as a main contractor, look at widening the reach of looking for skills? So,
yes.
So, for instance, there's initiatives about ex-offenders being given the opportunity to come into construction. What would your view be
So
on
we
that?
actually work with an organisation called Tigers in Scotland that actually have training programmes for ex-offenders. We recruit from the ex-military programmes as well. We've just developed a programme for returning to work mothers to try and give them part-time or flexible working or evening workings. Now that can't work for everything we do, but it can work for some things we do, so why not?
Yeah.
So there's lots and lots of different programs going on at the moment around how we can recruit, and it's like I said, the only barrier is the limits we place on ourselves.
Fantastic. Caroline?
Yeah, it's definitely across all trades where the need is, particularly plasterers and bricklayers, we find. I don't know what the answer is immediately, but we do need to start and turn this around because we're declining year on year in numbers. We also have an ageing industry, so we have quite a big fall off we're seeing now where, you've got your sort of 70-year-olds who really are not fit to carry on working, else I think they would.
Yeah.
But being in the industry, it can take its toll on your knees and your back. And so that does seem to be an age where they come out of industry. And because of the lack of recruitment over the past few decades, we're now seeing quite a large drop-off. We need to make construction exciting. We need to be honest and open about the money that you can earn. The opportunities are there for both men and women. And just really sort of re-energise the industry at school level, in colleges, and just encourage the whole population to come through.
Absolutely. And Susanna, from your perspective, when you joined, obviously you've had your parents that are involved, your dad's involved. What would you say is the biggest challenge?
I think I agree with both what Caroline and Stephen have said. Every part of the construction industry is lacking with people. Yes, I had a positive background. I had people pushing me. But we just need to get the schools to encourage everybody to look at construction. Even if they might not be interested, just have a go. See what you think about it first before going, oh no, they won't like that. Because I was never offered it. It was only because I worked with my dad that I got into it.
Interesting. And I've heard over the last, obviously since Brexit, since COVID, that there are a number of skilled individuals within construction going off to these big Middle East projects, tax-free. Is that a big problem from what's happening with you?
It is, but there's also, we've lost a lot of people to things like HS2 or Hinkley Point C, and in some reasons it's actually a positive thing because it's driving up wages and making construction a high wage, high technology employment opportunity will change the nature and diversity of the sector. So I think it's short-term pain for long-term gain. Carol, I really do. I think one of the things I've found over the years is that people come and go between the Middle East or Australia, for example. They'll go there for lifestyle choices. Lots of people go for 2 or 3, 4 years, make a load of money, then come back.
Yeah.
Family or personal circumstances are a big attraction. So I don't really see the Middle East as being a risk to us. I think it's just the internal market, the competitive nature of the internal market within the UK just now for us, Brexit, is what's driving that.
And what do you do to retain the staff? So, we know that there are projects that, for long durations. What do you do as a tier one contractor to ensure that you can keep your workforce?
So people leave businesses because of bad managers, not because of bad companies. So we spend a lot of time making sure our managers are well trained. We have an employee value proposition which we focus on. We spend a lot of money every year on training, so everyone gets at least 2 full training days a year in whatever they want to do. We do volunteering days. We have industry-leading holidays. We have very good terms and conditions. But, more than that, we've got a place where people want to be. That's what I want to, I want people who want to actually come into the office or come to site. And for those of you that have been in this game long enough, this isn't about putting bricks down or wiring cable. It's about the people. You come to work and you work in this game because you like the people. Yeah. That's why most people stay in it.
Yeah. There's a saying, you don't make enemies in construction because that's probably going to be your next job that you see someone. Yeah. Over to yourself, Caroline.
Well, I think there's a fundamental issue, and I know I mentioned it before, but, operating in a non-licensed industry, when you're building constructions over your family's head, it seems bizarre to me, having spent 17 years in Australia, going over there to make more money, coming back. But, most countries now around the world, America, Australia, a lot of Europe, have a licensed construction industry. It is a regulated industry, and tradies wear their hard hat with pride. Here, we just don't seem to be able to be edging towards that. It's like, you wouldn't buy a 50 grand car in a car showroom and drive it out uninsured without any warranties, but you'd put an extension on your house with a guy that you've met down the pub and just hope for the best. So we really do need to work on licensing the industry. That will professionalize the industry. It will professionalize its attraction for parents, encouraging children to come through. to me, that is where we start. We make the industry a licensed industry, and we have professionals operating within it.
Okay. Susanna?
I completely agree with what Caroline said. We, being on a little island up in North Wales, we see it all the time because of the rising costs of everything, because of whatever, Brexit and all this. People are asking their friend who knows a friend who knows a friend who could do a little bit of electrics. But it's dangerous. It could cost your life, your house, anything. So I completely agree with what Caroline's saying. It needs to be regulated. Otherwise, it's just going to keep going down that slippery slope.
Absolutely. And just to wrap up this first session here, Stephen, what would be the takeaway you would say to somebody that wants to come into the sector and being on the tools? What would be your...
I think have an open mind.
Yeah.
Embrace the art of the possible. I've got a thing I really always say, it's be curious. I think anyone who's got a natural curiosity will do well in this in this sector. I think for what I would say to employers or leaders that are here today is madness. It's the definition of doing the same thing time and time again, expecting to get different results. We've done the same things the same way for like time memorial. It's time to change.
Absolutely. And Caroline?
Yeah, I'll just echo that. But what I would say is the future is female in construction.
I would say just go for it. You don't know what you're missing until you try it. You don't know whether you like it until you try it. So you might as well just go there, have a go at it. If you don't like it, you don't like it.
Thank you very much. And I think that's a great point to wrap up this first session. So can I just give a warm congratulations to my panellists, Stephen, Caroline and Suzanne, and thank you all for listening in.